Animals often get in trouble, but thankfully there are people like this in the world. Or like this. Or like this. People who help them when things get tricky. Residents of Argentina spotted 7 orcas stranded on land, which could have resulted in their death. Now imagine how hard it would be to move an animal weighing over 4 tons, but they managed. Look at the state of this homeless puppy at the time it was found. It was taken into a home and cared for, and this is what the dog looks like 2 years later. The fishermen noticed something struggling in the water, and when they got closer, it turned out to be a young deer desperately swimming toward the boat in hopes of receiving help. It clearly found the right people for that. This puppy didn't even understand how much danger it was in when it was wrapped by a king cobra. A person risked his life by removing the snake with his bare hands, but fortunately, no one was hurt, including the cobra. 2 elephants were searching for water in a dried-up dam in Kenya and got stuck in mud instead. Several dozen people came to their rescue. Even a helicopter was involved. This operation took several hours when finally… This cyclist found a hedgehog in the woods that was unconscious due to severe dehydration. The man proceeded to revive the poor animal with his tea. An opossum crawled to the side of the road in hopes of getting some help. And it was a good call. This woman took care of the animal and brought it to a clinic. A very complex and dangerous operation by freeing a rattlesnake from a net, but this guy was well prepared. People witnessed a moose falling through the ice, and the animal was exhausted after its endless attempts to climb back out. At first, they tried to pull the moose out on their own, but in the end, they had to call a special rescue crew that could help the animal. This bird feeder had an ant infestation, and one of them was holding a hummingbird by the beak. Thankfully, people came to its rescue right in time. This girl noticed a wounded dog on the other side of the river. Despite being exhausted and in pain, the dog was still wagging its tail, knowing that this was its last chance of salvation. The girl brought the dog home with her and made sure it was well taken care of. It was a real miracle that this person spotted a baby mole in trouble. At least now it's safe. While some people litter, harming nature, others help, just like this person who removed a plastic bottle from an Arctic fox. A fisherman stumbled upon a monkey in the water. It was really tangled in the netting and could barely move. He immediately jumped into action, trying to free the poor animal and give it something to eat. The way the monkey looks at him speaks volumes. After earthquakes in Turkey and Syria, people formed search parties to aid and rescue animals, and here is one such rescue of a cat. Just listen at the heart-wrenching cries of the kitten that got trapped in a pipe.
Hi, baby.
People heard its desperate plea for help and got the animal out. And here was a rescue of a rabbit that nearly died due to dehydration. This girl helped a heron that was stuck in the mud. She brought it home, and once the bird was feeling better, she released it, And then the heron came back. And this orca was beached on the coast of the Baltic Sea, and it was patiently waiting while people were trying to think of a plan to rescue it. In the end, the rescue crew wrapped some ropes around the animal and pulled it to a depth where it felt more comfortable. This girl heard a little bird calling to her. Turns out, this was a parakeet with a broken foot. She brought the bird home and nursed it back to health. Take a look. It's not afraid of people. Quite the contrary. This seagull had a plan to eat the fish, but didn't expect that the fish would puff up inside the bird's throat. The latter was lucky that the passerby noticed what was happening and came to its aid. The rescue team went to Kangaroo Island to help koalas that suffered due to the wildfires. To free the bull, these people brought an excavator and dug a huge hole. This guy found a pigeon that was unwell due to the heat, and he brought the bird home to nurse it back to health. Many animals fell victim to a flood and a breach of the dam in Ukraine, but thankfully a large number of them were rescued thanks to people like this man. Many animals suffered when a dam was breached in Ukraine, and things could have ended very badly for this dog. Just notice the hope with which it looks at the person who didn't abandon it, and instead brought it onto the boat and took it to safety. This kitten is being picked up to the sound of explosions in the background. And here is yet another Ukrainian story with a happy ending. A stingray found itself on dry land after a storm. Luckily, it was found by a kind person. This guy found a dog that was so famished it could barely stand. He started feeding it every single day and later took it to a clinic and ensured the dog is better. Watch how much better the dog looks a few weeks later. A pool became a real trial for this chipmunk. Thankfully, the help arrived just in time.
It's okay. Shh. Okay.
The police helped a pelican that was tangled in a fishing line, including the fishing hook.
Good, Officer Pierce at Eckerd College, marine biologist, and the pelican's gonna live another day.
A kind person had bought out an elephant that had been enslaved for the past 30 years, having worked in logging and touristic camps. When the animal was brought to the side of the road, it got down on its knees, thinking that this was its new master and that it had to transport him somewhere. But now, the elephant is truly free. These girls pulled a bird nest out of the water and were astonished to find 2 tiny baby birds inside. Naturally, they had to take on the role of the new mom. This man decided to free the wolf even though the animal tried to bite him several times. But at least it looks like the wolf felt bad once it was rescued. This cat was hopelessly trying to climb out of the water. It was very lucky that there were people passing by at that very moment. And this very attentive girl helped a hermit crab find a new home.
Not real sure what Buddy has stuck in his beak.
This man was on a fishing trip with his kids when he noticed the bird that had something stuck in its beak. Interestingly, the bird did not fight back at all.
I'm sure he'll be thankful to have that off. Sure it is.
Well, almost.
Got you good, didn't he?
He's definitely feeling a lot better.
An example of the way garbage thrown in the sea harms marine life. A turtle got lucky that these guys noticed its suffering and helped the poor animal.
Yeah, I think he understands. Yeah. See ya, big fella.
An orangutan fell down in the water and began to drown, but the zookeeper immediately followed the animal into the water, pulled it out, and administered first aid. It's hard to say what would have happened to this fox if it weren't for the man with a shovel. The eagle was all set to have an octopus for breakfast, but this was clearly a bad idea. Thankfully, people noticed the commotion right in time and managed to free the bird from the tentacles. A tamandua confused an electricity pole with a tree branch and nearly died as a result, but the electricians rescued it with a pole before anything drastic happened. And this person is risking their life to free the birds stuck in the electricity cables. This poor camel's back legs were all tangled up. What would have happened if it weren't for this kind man? These guys wanted to free the crocodile that was stuck in concrete and nearly got into trouble themselves when a second croc attacked them. This wild cheetah is no different than a domestic cat when it was asking for food, apart from the fact that it was ever so slightly bigger. It's a good thing people came up with a way to rescue a horse that fell into a well. A bear cub was looking for food in a barrel, but instead stumbled into some trouble. People took the risk to help the animal out, and it was a success. These guys found a sable in the woods, caught in a trap, and look at the way it acts once it's freed, as if it doesn't even want to leave. And here a drowning cow is voluntarily swimming towards a boat, knowing that this is its way to salvation. And this bunny was saved at a very critical moment. And these are the lengths that these guys went to in order to rescue baby owls that fell out of their nest. This woman picked up a sick raccoon and nursed it back to health. Just listen at the way it thanks her.
That he was going to be okay.
A dolphin got washed up during Hurricane Ian, and these guys were among a few people who stayed on the island and managed to return the animal back to its natural habitat. People found a pony that could not walk due to overgrown hooves. First, they had to trim them, and then the pony had to be taught how to walk and run. On top of that, it took a whole year for the animal to learn to trust people again. And here is a rescue of an old, wounded tiger. This bald eagle failed to fly away during a high tide and started to drown. It was very lucky to have a boat nearby with people willing to help. They managed to pull the bird out of water, and while the eagle was very nervous at first, after a few minutes it calmed down and was just chilling in the man's arms. Thankfully, the bird did not have any serious injuries and was released to freedom the next day. A sperm whale swam up to a diver of its own volition, and the latter helped the animal remove a fishing hook that was stuck in its mouth. Once it was done, the whale did not leave straight away, showing something like gratitude for the help. Imagine the surprise of this married couple when a penguin climbed into their kayak. Turns out it was injured and needed some help. And this iguana got caught in a wire fence, which left it hanging upside down. First, it had to be removed from the fence, and then the remaining wire that wrapped around the animal's body, neck, and feet had to be cut off. Unfortunately, that's not the only occasion when a fox gets tangled in a net.
Yeah.
Damaged.
Well done.
Out, but let's just see what sort of damage I've come into you. There he goes. Yeah, it's working.
And now a video I simply couldn't pass by. Brown Bear Volley just rescued a drowning crow in the Budapest Zoo. Just let that sink in. A bear rescued a crow. It heard the bird crying for help and showed kindness by freeing the bird and pulling it to dry land. It looks like even the crow is struggling to believe what just happened.